Caitlin Clark has revealed that newly appointed Indiana Fever coach Stephanie White always had the best scouts against us, and she now wants the team to benefit from her vast tactical knowledge. Indiana officially unveiled White as their new head coach on Monday after Christy Sides was relieved of her duties on October 27. White, 47, was herself a high school star in Indiana and played for the Fever between 2000 and 2004. She went on to act as the Fever's assistant coach under Lynn Dunn, helping the franchise win the WNBA in 2012 before becoming their head coach from 2015 to 2016. White enjoyed 2 successful years as the Connecticut Sun's head coach, winning WNBA Coach of the Year in 2023 before knocking the Clark-led Fever out in Round 1 of the 2024 WNBA playoffs. White will now team up with 2024 Rookie of the Year Clark, widely considered the league's greatest talent, to form a formidable partnership ahead of next season. Point guard Clark, alongside teammates Aaliyah Boston and Lexie Hull, posed alongside their new head coach in Monday's unveiling. The 22-year-old sensation showed her full support for White by highlighting how well she had prepared Connecticut for their games against Indiana earlier this year. Clark made no secret of her excitement to play under the new head coach, who she hopes will implement the same knowledge she used against the players to improve the side. Clark said, "We know how much of a legend she is in Indiana. I think that's really cool," before adding, "Playing against her, I would say I felt like her teams always had the best scouts against us. I think that just speaks to her knowledge of the game and her way to analyze, and she clearly was onto something. Hopefully, in turn, now that she knows how to stop us, that should be a good way to know how to help us beat certain things as well." White, meanwhile, also expressed her excitement about working with 2 former Rookie of the Year in Boston and Clark. She said, "You've got the point guard in the center, you have the bookends that you want to build around. These 2, Clark and Boston, are the best. There are so many things they do well right now. And you saw the difference between the beginning of the season to the end of the season, and how much better they got with one another." More than half of the WNBA is changing coaches this offseason, as 7 of the league's 13 teams parted ways with their head coach from the 2024 season, and the Golden State Valkyries are entering the league with a new coach as an expansion franchise. Among the teams that fired their coach after the season was the Indiana Fever, as they let Christy Sides go after guiding Indiana to a second-half push that saw them nab a playoff berth before a first-round loss. The Fever figured to be a highly coveted job as it provides an opportunity to coach the last 2 Rookie of the Year winners in Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Boston. On Monday, the team officially introduced Stephanie White as their head coach, after White parted ways with the Connecticut Sun to return home to Indiana to take the Fever job for the second time in her career. This time, White takes over a roster that has a ton of talent, and in her intro presser she stated her belief that Clark and Boston can be the best guard-big tandem the WNBA has ever seen. Those 2 were at White's introductory presser, and spoke with ESPN's Michael Vorpel about their excitement to play for White, with Clark explaining that the detailed approach the Sun always had in facing the Fever makes her believe White can help them improve some of their weaknesses quickly. "We know how much of a legend she is in Indiana," Clark said Monday. "I think that's really cool. Playing against her, I would say I felt like her teams always had the best scouts against us. I think that just speaks to her knowledge of the game and her way to analyze, and she clearly was onto something. Hopefully, in turn, now that she knows how to stop us, that should be a good way to know how to help us beat certain things as well." Boston added, "There's nothing better than playing for a coach that you can already tell she's going to pour into us. She knows the talent that we have, and I'm super excited to get out on the court. You can feel the intensity already." White will have the next 6 months to self-scout the Fever and identify the areas they can improve for 2025, as the expectations will only get bigger for Indiana. At the very least, White believes her young star duo is only scratching the surface, and if Clark and Boston can level up in 2025 together, Indiana will have a chance to be a real threat to the WNBA's top 4. The Indiana Fever marked a crucial milestone for the organization on Monday when they officially introduced Stephanie White as the team's new head coach. Caitlin Clark, Aaliyah Boston and Lexie Hull were all in attendance as they offered their support for their new coach heading into 2025. One particular star player who was absent from the major event was 2-time All-Star Kelsey Mitchell. More than a few fans were curious as to why she was nowhere to be found, considering how the 28-year-old is one of the most important players on the roster. The fact that Mitchell will become an unrestricted free agent and can opt to walk away from Indiana this offseason made her absence even more intriguing for some supporters. There is a very good reason behind Mitchell's no-show. The fact of the matter is that the 5'8" guard is currently halfway across the globe. Mitchell is in China at the moment, where she signed a deal with the Shanxi Flame of the Women's Chinese Basketball Association, WCBA. Mitchell's off-season departure is far from unprecedented. In fact, several WNBA players are currently abroad playing for different teams while the league is on break. The Shanxi Flame, in particular, have signed stars such as Maya Moore and Alyssa Thomas in the past, to name a couple. For her part, Mitchell has had stints in Egypt, Israel and Spain in the past, so playing overseas is not new for the former Ohio State star. Mitchell recently featured in a video posted on social media alongside a couple of her Flame teammates, Lu Yutong and fellow WNBA player Olivia Nelson-Ododa of the Connecticut Sun. Caitlin Clark's inspirational encounter with basketball legend Maya Moore is one that changed her life. As a rising star in women's basketball, the Indiana Fever guard made waves as a record-breaking player for Iowa during her college years. The 22-year-old now holds the title of NCAA Division I's all-time leading scorer and has been honored twice as National Player of the Year while with the Hawkeyes. Her transition into the WNBA this year has seen her continue to excel, and she is on course for a glittering career in the league. Despite the fame and attention that Clark has brought to women's basketball, she attributes the influence of one particular player to igniting her passion for the game. In 2012, at just 10 years old, Clark traveled with her family to Minneapolis to see Moore in action for the Minnesota Lynx against the Seattle Storm, a pivotal experience that positively altered her young life. Moore could be seen as a precursor to Clark in terms of skill, boasting an impressive ability to pass, shoot, and dribble that led her to 2 undefeated college seasons, 4 Final Four appearances, and 2 national championships with UConn. After her collegiate success, Moore joined the Minnesota Lynx and embarked on a remarkable streak, securing 4 WNBA championships, multiple MVP awards, and clinching 2 Olympic gold medals with USA Basketball in 2012 and 2016. The momentous meeting between Moore and Clark happened when the young fan from Iowa made a 3-hour trip from Des Moines to Minneapolis to witness the Hall of Famer's prowess on the court. According to The Athletic, Clark rushed towards Moore and embraced her, marking this the moment that changed her life for the better. The 22-year-old said, "I didn't have a phone, I didn't have a Sharpie, I just gave her a hug and I ran away. And she just gave me a hug back. It's just something that stuck with me, that one interaction can change somebody's life." Since then, Clark has emerged as a sensation in the WNBA, delivering an impressive first season with the Fever. Both Clark and her fans will forever be grateful for her young bravery in approaching Moore with a hug back in 2012. Caitlin Clark's 10-second interaction with women's basketball icon Maya Moore is one she claims changed her life. The Indiana Fever guard has emerged as one of the sport's rising talents, making her claim to fame as a record breaker for the Iowa Hawkeyes in her college days. The 22-year-old is the NCAA Division I all-time leading scorer and was a 2-time National Player of the Year with the Hawkeyes, and has continued her successes into her WNBA career this year. However, while the popularity the Rookie of the Year has brought to the sport of women's basketball is unrivaled, there was one player she credits with kickstarting her love for the court. Back in 2012, a then 10-year-old Clark traveled with her family to Minneapolis to watch Moore play for the Minnesota Lynx against Seattle Storm, and this was the moment that changed her young life for the better. Moore could be regarded as an earlier version of Clark in the sport, with her ability to pass, shoot and dribble effectively landing her 2 undefeated seasons, 4 Final Four places and 2 national championships with college team UConn. Following this, she joined the Minnesota Lynx and went on an incredible run in the sport, winning 4 WNBA championships, various MVP titles and also won 2 Olympic gold medals with USA Basketball in 2012 and 2016. Moore's brush with Clark came when the Iowa-born fan traveled 3 hours from Des Moines to Minneapolis to watch the Hall of Famer play in a WNBA game. The Hawkeyes will be boosted by the return of Sydney Affolter after she recovered from an off-season knee surgery, forcing a reaction from NCAA legend and former Iowa teammate Caitlin Clark. Affolter underwent a surgical scope of her knee last month and will play for the Hawkeyes again this month. The senior guard, 21, who's tasked with replacing Clark in Iowa, who went first overall to the WNBA's Indiana Fever, posted an update on social media, stating she'll be back on the court soon. "Let's go, kid. Your year," Clark responded to Affolter on Instagram. Affolter was part of the Iowa team that made back-to-back national championship games in the past 2 seasons alongside Clark. Her return will be a welcome boost to the Hawkeyes, who used Affolter a career-high 39 times last season. After averaging 8.4 points per game and 6.4 rebounds per game, Affolter was named to the Big Ten's All-Tournament team and Albany 2 All-Regional team. Affolter has taken up a leadership role in the Iowa locker room. "I think with such a new and young team it's really important to have a veteran leader and someone who's been through the offense for 3 years and kind of knows the ins and outs of Iowa women's basketball," she said recently. "So I really definitely kept that and upheld myself to that standard whether I was playing or not, and it's definitely been hard. I mean, I would much rather be leading on the court than on the sidelines, but I think everyone's picking up everything so well and we're progressing great. So it hasn't been hard, and I think just having a leader that everyone can collectively be and come around to one voice is really important. I think we saw that in Kate a lot last year. Obviously, there was a lot of other leaders that helped, but, I think Kate was that main voice and that's super important for a team, and I think that can really make or break a team's chemistry for sure." Iowa head coach Lisa Bluder has highlighted Affolter as one of the Hawkeyes' keys to success. "Yeah, well, you can't talk about this year without talking about Hannah Stuelk," Bluder said. "What a great opportunity she has as only a junior. And then, senior Sydney Affolter, oh my goodness, just came into her own last year, was in the All-Big Ten tournament team when we won the championship and just playing so well." Caitlin Clark has landed another major lucrative opportunity after being announced as the special guest for a public conversation with David Letterman. The WNBA superstar has been keeping herself extremely busy during her first off-season as a professional, working on her golf game, attending a Taylor Swift concert and even promoting her latest range of basketballs through her endorsement with Wilson. It has been quite the year for the 22-year-old, who is coming off the back of a remarkable breakthrough campaign with the Indiana Fever in which she shattered multiple all-time league records and earned the Rookie of the Year award. Now, Clark has agreed to join legendary late-night TV host Letterman for a conversation at Ball State University in Muncie, Indiana, as part of a professional lecture and workshop series, with University President Jeffrey Mearns hailing the very special occasion. David Letterman is our university's most famous graduate. He is a native Hoosier and a national icon, and Caitlin Clark has quickly become a beloved Hoosier and national star, Mearns said in a press release. "I anticipate their conversation will be very special. On behalf of Ball State, we are honored to host them." The event will take place on Monday, December 2nd and is expected to be a real money spinner for Clark, who allegedly already receives a $100,000 fee for virtual speaking appearances. With this in mind, it can only be assumed her in-person charge is even more staggering. But it will just be the latest grand sum the Fever point guard receives as part of her blossoming career both on and off the court, having already accumulated an enormous net worth despite reportedly earning a modest $76,535, £58,949, a year salary through her basic rookie contract. WNBA sensation Caitlin Clark has been a breath of fresh air at the Indiana Fever, and it sounds like her new coach Stephanie White will be too. Clark, 22, is the hottest thing going in women's basketball after her remarkable debut campaign for the Fever, which saw her clinch the Rookie of the Year award. But Clark's brilliance wasn't enough to land the team their first WNBA title since 2012, and they were knocked out in the first round of the playoffs by the Connecticut Sun. Last month, the Fever parted ways with head coach Christy Sides, this week announcing former Connecticut boss White, 47, as her replacement. Responding to the news, NBC Sports pundit Terica Foster Brasby said she expected her to make an instant impact, both on and off the court. Fever fans have a reputation for negativity, and Brasby thinks that could change with White at the helm. She's most certainly not going to stand for any of the negativity that had been associated with Fever fans, Brasby told On Her Turf. And we know it's not all the fans, but there were certain ones who use the Fever name to kind of spew things that just do not stand for what the WNBA stands for. Stephanie White is always outspoken on those sorts of things, and that's never going to be something she'll put up with. She's never going to tolerate it. Brasby also tipped the Indiana native to whip up a little optimism inside the Fever locker room. From an off-the-court standpoint, I think the culture will absolutely change, she said. I didn't cover Indiana on a regular basis to know whether there was a negative culture there, but White brings a culture of winning, of confidence, of understanding your public face. From an on-court standpoint, Brasby expects Indiana to become far more steely defensively. I know one thing, Steph White loves a quick, fast-paced offense, she continued. It was difficult to do that at Connecticut, they were an older team. Well, this is a much younger team, so that offensive style should actually work well here. The other thing we say with Connecticut was their commitment to defense. And that defensive presence was very important to their success. That means that this Fever team is going to have to buy in on being stronger defensively, no matter how well we want to give Caitlin Clark her flowers, and we should. We also have to be honest that their defense was not the strongest for this Fever team, and specifically Caitlin Clark. That's where I think Steph will make an immediate impact. She will implement a structure that everyone is going to have to be committed to. It means there's a chance Clark's game will change significantly next season, with White looking to cement a well-organized, defensively sound reputation at the franchise. Will that help or hinder the girl wonder? I guess we'll have to wait and see. Or Caitlin Clark, a standout moment in her career arrived when she made her debut on Saturday Night Live, becoming the first women's basketball player to appear on the legendary show. Known for her sharpshooting skills and as Iowa's beloved CC, Clark's guest spot had her playfully roasting SNL anchor Michael Che, who joked about Iowa retiring Clark's jersey and an apron in her honor. Clark's appearance on the show came during a whirlwind April, as she balanced awards, travel, and her rookie year in the WNBA, marking a wild journey from college basketball stardom to the national spotlight. Reflecting on her busy schedule, Clark confessed that she barely remembers the trip to New York for the draft. I slept 2 hours, I've never felt that way in my life, she shared on the podcast Fresh Talk with Jada Jayamfi, recalling the constant travel from LA to NYC and back across the country. Right before her SNL debut, she received the Wooden Award for the second consecutive year, then had just a week of training camp before plunging into her rookie season with the Indiana Fever. With her sights still set on growth, she admitted that the NYC visit was a blur, joking, I felt awful because I was in LA, I flew from LA in the morning, and I flew all the way to New York, landed, went right to SNL. On set, Clark brought her A game, trading jabs with Che about his humor and women's sports. In a memorable skit, she had him read a joke she'd crafted, telling him, I have 3 pointers for Michael Che, 1, B. 2, funnier. 3, Doomba. The lighthearted moment drew laughs and underscored her easy confidence as she transitioned from NCAA legend to WNBA rookie. More than just a night of jokes, her SNL appearance was a big moment for women's sports. As the reigning Rookie of the Year, Clark has become a powerful voice for female athletes. Paying tribute to her heroes, she acknowledged WNBA legends who paved the way, like Sheryl Swoopes and her personal hero, Maya Moore.